United States in 1940 with the aim of securing additional military material. Later on, it was a British connection that really turned this into one of the greatest fighters of all time. In from the left, the P51D. That British Purchasing Commission was headed by a civil servant named Sir Henry Self, grandfather, incidentally, of the author and columnist Will Self. And it was initially thought that the Curtiss P40 family of fighters would suit RAF needs. We were desperately in need of more fighters, owing to the pressure on Britain's own aircraft manufacturers. However, one of the companies that Self and his team went to visit in the US was North American Aviation of Dallas, Texas. They were already turning out Harvard trainers in quantity for the RAF, and doing so impressively. They were indeed exceeding the planned production schedule, much to the pleasure of the British Air Ministry. The North American team managed to convince the British Purchasing Commission that they could come up with a fighter superior to the Curtiss P40. And so it was that in record time, a matter only of a few dozen days, they developed a design called the NA-73. 10 engine, like the majority of Curtiss P40s. While the V1710 was a very dependable power plant and gave the Mustang excellent low-level performance, it wasn't so good at higher altitudes, the sort of regime Bodney Harker. Harker and the boss of that unit, Ian Campbell-Ord. A conversion was undertaken. Harker test flew it again at Duxford. The result was an aeroplane transformed. One problem was that Rolls-Royce production of the Merlin was all being earmarked for British-built aircraft in the main, the likes of the Lancaster, the Mosquito, and the Spitfire, to name but three famous examples. So, production was to be undertaken for the Mustang and certain other applications, including some Spitfire marks, by the Packard Company, the automobile manufacturer in the United States. And while the Allison engine Mustang continued in service, not least with RAF Army Cooperation Command around the time of D-Day, and they were very active in that period, the Merlin-powered Mustang truly excelled as a long-range escort fighter, accompanying US Army Air Forces and RAF heavy bombers during the Allied offensive against occupied Europe. These aircraft were able to accompany the likes of the B-17 Flying Fortresses, the B-24 Liberators, the Lancasters and the Halifaxes, all the way to their targets in occupied Europe, conduct combat against enemy fighters if necessary, and then return. It really was a transformational capability, and this aircraft, this very example, which is about to perform its last pass, is itself a decorated Second World War combat veteran. It wears the famed blue-nosed markings of the 352nd Fighter Group, stationed as part of the 8th Army Air Force at Bodney, a unit that flew 60,000 hours in combat during just 19 months of World War II. The aircraft, named Miss Helen, notched up numerous combat sorties, including one on the 17th of April 1945 when it was escorting B-17 Flying Fortresses on an attack at railway marshalling yards in Dresden. The total of 52 Mustangs forming the escort were en route when they came across a Luftwaffe airfield at Plattling with 70 aircraft parked out on it, and the pilot of Miss Helen, Captain Raymond Litke, made no fewer than 7 attack passes over the airfield with his guns. They would normally, of course, say never return to your target after you've made your first pass, but conditions were such that Litke felt able to. On the ground, in the course of that one attack, he destroyed 3 Messerschmitt Bf-109s and a pair of Messerschmitt Me-262 jet fighters, and this was in spite of the fact that his Mustang had been hit in the first of those attack runs by enemy flak, and it nearly drained his oil tank. In fact, some Army Air Forces pilots who converted from the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt were a bit sceptical about the Mustang. They felt it wouldn't be able to withstand the same amount of battle damage as the P-47 had. Well, it was experiences like that that began to prove them wrong. This aircraft, today owned by Robert Tyrrell, it's based at Duxford, where it's looked after by the Aircraft Restoration Company, where you can go and fly in it with Aerial Collective, and it's been flown for us today by John Dodd. So just as we recover the Mustang, now would be a nice moment to show your appreciation and your grateful thanks to everybody who was involved in making that remarkable spectacle come together. Thank you so much for your appreciation. And there goes another important visitor to Normandy this afternoon. A Beechcraft 99. On board, members of the Parachute Regiment's Red Devils freefall team, together with 2 Normandy veterans who will be making tandem jumps over Normandy 75 years on later today.